Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Stern Spiel, a weekly podcast where a dad and a daughter sit down and talk about everything in pop culture, politics, and our personal lives. Hello, Dad.
Hello, daughter. How are you?
Good. I'm Veronica, by the way.
I'm Charlie Stern, at New Charlie Stern, and Veronica's dad.
Yes. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know, it's a mixture of things. I'm actually doing fine. There's some disappointments that have happened to me over the past week, but they're not life-threatening. Life will go on and things will proceed. But then I'm trying to look at the positive things that have happened. I want to talk about that a little bit. Also busy with some things that I try to help out with the charter school that Mommy and I founded, and she runs the place. I don't work there, but I have some IT and digital marketing stuff that I'm in the middle of working on there. It's been super busy. What's going on with you, Veronica?
Big week for me. I started a brand new job this week.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to update LinkedIn.
I was wondering if you're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about it. I'm not going to say like where it is. I don't want.
No, you're not yet. You don't have to say anything you don't want to.
So I got a nice, cool job at a digital media company.
Wow.
In New York City, and it is really cool.
But demanding.
It's not terribly demanding right now. Like, they want to ease me in. So
okay.
It's not like they were like, and here's everything you have to do and go.
Right,
like, no.
Here's a wheelbarrow of work.
Yeah,
to do.
no.
That's what I found work to be like in the beginning. So
no, I think they're very conscious here about like making sure they ease you in and they don't overwhelm you and they don't like, burn you out too fast, which I appreciate.
Don't get burnt out ever. If you can stay ahead of it, try to. But
I don't even really know how you avoid burnout.
I don't have a fatherly answer for you because I'm a victim.
What is burnout?
Burnout is when you're so sick of doing your job that you can barely lift your head off the pillow. And you're getting headaches and your depression is lurking all the time. And when it happens, it's a very, very debilitating thing. It's really bad for you. And burnout, I mean, I don't have the psychotherapy definition of it, but I can tell you how it affects me when it happens. You've been doing something for too long. Mm-hmm. You're either bored of it, you're sick of it, you're tired of it. It no longer interests you. It no longer motivates you, but you keep going anyway. Now, that's not to say that every minute of your life has to be, excitement and wonder, because it's not always going to be like that. But burnout is this phenomenon where you are just sick and tired of it. And you just can't go any further.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I think
I
have been, this first week of work, I've really been trying to set those boundaries, especially with it, so that I don't run into burnout. So, just keeping everything on Slack, only putting important things on like my personal phone number, which
work-life balance
is something I think can be really difficult, especially in the social media space, because, you're scrolling on Instagram every day. So how do you delineate, I'm doing this for work and no, I'm doing this for like pleasure or whatever. So that is good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You talk about the social media space. Like, I'm just beginning to understand this, but how does it fit into the whole ecosystem of media? So there's social media, there's paid advertising, there's television, broadcast, streaming, over the top, I guess OTT. It's called. There's like, what do you perceive as the place where social media fits into the overall media landscape?
Oh.
Too big a question?
I don't really know. Like, do you mean in terms of importance?
Size, relevance.
I mean, I think it's extremely relevant depending on what your market is.
Right, you're talking about
like, are we talking about like selling things to women? Yeah, social media is going to be really important.
Got it.
Like TV advertising is important, I'm sure, for football.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of that quite yet. But
right. So in the entertainment space, it can depend a little bit on the genre topic.
For sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, so started that new job this week, which has been a super big change for me. Because obviously I've been doing theater for the last plus like 8-10 years. I don't know. Not to be dramatic about it.
Right.
But like professionally, I would say like when I was in college, that was like professional. So at least since 2018.
Yeah. So it's a transition.
Probably earlier.
So it's a transition. It's a direction.
It's a transition, and I think it's not like I'm like, and I'm done with theater. Like, that's stupid. But I think it's definitely like I'm just taking a little bit of a break because I definitely was burnt out. That was burnout.
Okay.
From theater.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, Dad. Why are you acting surprised?
I want you to explain that.
I mean, it was the feeling of like going and going and going and going. And oh God, I don't even know where to start. Like, is there a question? Like, where do you want me to start?
So how would you characterize, I don't want you to delve into anything you don't want to talk about, but how would you characterize the burnout? Does it show up as trouble sleeping? Does it show up as anxiety? And how bad do you feel like you are in that space?
The burnout from theater can be described as a lack of interest.
Got it.
In it.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. Because it's like something will come my way and I'll be like, oh, this is really interesting. I really want to do this. And then I think about what it entails and what the actual job will be.
Yeah.
Like what the actual job is going to be, you know? And then I'm like, don't know if I want to do this.
Right. So you're thinking about those kinds of things. I totally understand that, and I respect your choice. I'm going to leave you a little bit of distance.
Yeah, and I don't really know how to explain it to people that don't understand what theater really is, because I think on the outside, everybody just sees, oh, you did this amazing gig. You just did an amazing tour. Oh, you just did this thing. Oh, you're in callbacks for this, and it's huge, and like this and that. And I think what people don't see is and this goes for any job. So I don't want to be like, oh, it's just theater.
Yeah.
But for some reason with theater, it feels like it's taking more away from, more out of you.
Yeah.
Because you go through the same interview callback process as a 9-to-5 job or whatever, but it requires more of you. Don't really know how to explain that.
And I don't even want
to
pretend to fully understand that because I haven't been in that position.
It requires you to, if you want to be at the top, and maybe this is wrong, maybe I'm wrong, and I don't know. It requires you to, okay, this is what's coming through my mind right now. It's the $300 voice lessons. It's the, if you're a dancer, keeping up with your dancing and taking classes. It's the training that it takes to get to where you want to be. So that's the part that bothers me a little bit, is like that aspect, and like, okay, so where does the $300 come from? That bothers me. And then specifically, it's the requirement of, or the assumption that like you can not get a job because of, oh, you didn't have the right look. That bothers me a lot. I never have liked that.
Yeah.
And then of course, like I would say 90% of theater requires you to travel. And that has been the thing that bothers me the most. And that's the thing that, like, I realized for myself, I don't like it. I don't like having to, and you know, I don't know. I'm from New York, so this is where I want to land.
Yeah.
And there's been an opportunities where it's like, oh, I could stay in New York, but the problem is, it's like, okay, and then when that is over, you have to travel again.
Yeah, yeah. So,
or you have to wait around these like weird time periods of like nothingness. It's just, there's a lot of elements of it that are bothersome to me.
and so I think it's healthy that you are doing this introspection and that you're evaluating what all these things mean. You raised a lot of different things, not just one, and I'm sure that there's also a lot of rewarding and wonderful things that you would talk about that happened to you over the last 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah, and I always come at it with a lot of hesitancy because, like I said, it's not like I want to be like, and I am done. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's like sometimes you just have to like take a step back, because what I was realizing is I'm throwing myself on tape, driving myself crazy, trying to like work around schedules to make an audition happen. And who is it serving? Literally no one. Like, I am not happy doing this thing. That's not fair to me, and it's not fair to the people that I'm going in the room for.
Right. So that's grinding.
You know?
That's grinding.
And then when I get the job, I'm not terribly loving it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that would like die for it. So I need to just take a step back for a second and be like, is there anything else I can do that would really be interesting to me? Yes. And I worked my butt off this summer to land that, and I'm very happy about it.
I'm impressed by what you did.
Thanks.
And I saw what it took, and the stick-to-itivity, and the you also have to have like the internal courage to say, maybe I'm turning the page, maybe I'm not, but I'm gonna turn the page and look. And you did that, so I think that's all very positive. And I don't want to kind of push you beyond where you want to be in terms of talking about it. There's other stuff going on in the world too.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you a couple things that are going on with me this week?
Sure.
Yeah. So one recurring theme here on the Stern Spiel has been talking about shopping around for apartments and places to live, and extending the footprint of our little house and so on. And so there was a potential real estate transaction that came and went in the arc of about a week and a half or a week. And I'm very disappointed by the whole thing. And I don't have a perfect conclusion to this story, except to say that it's raising big issues, social, economic issues for me, because we're middle to upper class people. We have options. Thank goodness for that. Okay, like you said a minute ago, you're thankful for the good parts. The bad part is that there are aspects of this economy that are not working right, in my opinion. And housing is for sure one of them at almost every rung. Because if you're looking for an opportunity to own something, an opportunity to, really build your net worth and build something that you could potentially last for more than a generation, it's a lot harder to do than anybody describes on a webpage or on TV in real life. It's certainly in this area. And I suspect other areas of the country also. But I'm familiar with the New York area, and we live in a housing bubble that is unlike anything else. It's incredibly expensive. The options are limited. The choices are limited. And, unless you really have money coming out of your wazoo, it's very difficult to own something. And I do own something, right? I'm very fortunate. I own a house, right? I wanted to buy an apartment, and what I discovered is what it's really like out there in the contemporary real estate scene in New York City, and not giving up, but it's rough. So that was, you live and you learn, right? You can learn stuff every day of your life, and that's what I discovered this week. It kind of blows. So, I can imagine if you're 25 or 27 or 35 and you're starting out and you say, well, how am I going to afford a house? I understand why people are asking that question. Money's expensive. Real estate's super expensive. Ongoing expenses are insane. Taxation is no joke. And it's very hard to pull the whole thing together. So that was disappointment of the week. Positive thing of the week. Back to social media, media marketing, and the other stuff that we talk about a lot. I had to update this school website this week. And in doing the process of doing that, I learned some stuff about WordPress that I never knew before. Like, WordPress has got a built-in Ken Burns filter. Do you know what Ken Burns is?
Yes.
Okay. There's a built-in Ken Burns filter, and here's how it works. It's like sometimes if I just calm down and read the instructions, I realize I know more than I thought I did, and I can figure out a lot more. So it was a very rewarding and gratifying feeling to figure things out and kind of get that straightened out the way that I wanted to. And there's so much more work I need to do.
So what's happening in pop culture?
So in pop culture, my story for pop culture this week, John Amos. How much do you know about John Amos?
Is that the guy from the one about the Upper East Side place?
That's George Jefferson.
Oh.
Different black show from the 70s. Also produced by Norman Lear. But
What is John Amos?
John Amos was the father on Good Times. So
Isn't Good Times the one that's on the Upper East Side?
No, that's the Jeffersons.
The Jeffersons.
Good Times is a lower middle class black family.
That's the one
that
with
lived
like
in Chicago.
And the family, and they live in that one like apartment something.
They live in the projects in Chicago. It was based on a housing project that's no longer there called Cabrini Green.
So what happened to him?
So John Amos's big story is he was written out of the show, I think, after 4 or 5 years. And the backstory was that he was not pleased with the portrayal that he was being given in the show. Like, he didn't want black men to be buffoonized on television. And he said, enough of it. I've had it. I don't like this anymore. I don't like the way you're doing this. Mm-hmm. He was asking for, a different portrayal, essentially. They couldn't meet, their minds couldn't meet. And so they simply wrote him out of the show. Now, first of all, let me say, Good Times is a great show. Mm-hmm. Super funny. I mean, I looked at it through the eyes of a 9-year-old, and I just thought it was a funny show. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that these were great actors. I didn't know that the lead actors, John Amos and Esther Roll, were very accomplished actors in their own right before they got to this sitcom.
So what happened?
So what happened is they wrote him out of the show. He went on to do some other things. He was like, you ever heard of McDowell's in Coming to America?
Coming to America.
Right, he was in Coming to America, and he played the father of the woman who Eddie Murphy was romantically connected with in Coming to America. And he was in some other things. Just a great, great actor. But the story of John Amos, and by the way, just to bring it down to a local level, he actually, I think he wrote a children's book or something, and he was at Ward School in New Rochelle a couple of years ago.
Oh.
Before he died. Anyway, great actor. I think he was the guy who kind of pushed portrayal of black men on television to an uplift.
Was it pre-Cosby?
I was way pre-Cosby.
Oh, okay.
This was like mid 70s, probably 76 or 77.
Whenever I think about Bill Cosby, I just get so upset because, like, why'd they have to take the whole show off the internet?
It was a terrible story. I mean,
yeah. Okay, I don't want to say that and be like, that's really tone deaf. Like, that's not what I mean. Like, I understand why the move was made, but then I also get sad because it's like, that was such a good show.
Right, but you also have to look at...
But it's perpetuating this bad man, I guess.
Oh, my God. And it was all going on when he was making the show.
Oh, that's... Okay, that's true.
Like,
okay. Let's not get into it. So God. What happened with John Amos? Like, get to the point.
Nothing bad happened with John Amos.
Oh, it was just a statement?
He died. He died this week.
No, he didn't die this week. He died in August.
I read about what happened. Apparently, there's a schism between his son and his daughter. And
sad,
she
really.
find out. It's sad. I mean, people have personal problems in their life.
I suppose.
Everybody's got something.
But like,
but you know what? There was never a scandalous story about John Amos. He never had. There's nothing ever fell down. People liked him. He played the elder Kunta Kinte in Roots.
okay.
He's like a big time guy.
Yeah.
And a very successful actor.
A lot of people
and a
in the Broadway community died this week.
Oh, and I don't know who else.
So, what's the guy's name? I don't think you know who this is. Ken Page.
No.
Okay. It's interesting, my new job, because it's not theater. There's a lot of theater people, but it's interesting when Ken Page died. It was like my second day. And I went into the office knowing that happened, knowing who he is in like the theater world. Like he worked at the Muni. So I like by association knew of him a little deeper. But somebody in the office was like, oh, the guy that is like the voice of like Oogie Boogie or something like that died. And I was like, Ken Page. And they were like, yeah, that's crazy. I was like, interesting how like that, works. And then of course, really just I'm still like kind of in shock, honestly, from it. An actor named Gavin Creel, who...
Oh, wait, I think I heard about this one. Yeah,
it's actually like...
He was young.
Devastating.
Right? He was a young guy. Yeah. John Amos, by the way, was an older guy.
Yeah, no. Gavin Creel is so young. He was rather... like when you close your eyes and think of like modern musical theater male voice, that's him. It's
what was he in that I would have heard of?
Thoroughly Modern Millie, Hair Revival,
heard of it.
Into the Woods Revival.
Heard of it.
Those are the three that come to the top of my mind. It's like so many different things.
So he was all over the place.
Yeah. When I got into the office, the same girl was like, and the guy from Eloise died. And it's crazy because, like, yes, he was in Eloise. And you know that movie about the kid that lives at the Plaza Hotel?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, he's in that.
There's a children's book.
That would have never been my reference point for him. But that's just because I'm in the theater community.
Right.
Horrible loss. It's one of those ones that you're like shocked because he's so alive in your head.
No, it's sad. Even when you have to say goodbye to people, even you don't know them, they occupy a consciousness. Like John Amos, I grew up watching him.
Yeah.
So
it's horrible. It's just horrible.
I mean, but when it's really horrible is when it's a person that you actually know. And I went to a funeral recently.
This is getting a little dark.
And it was terrible. So, but it's part of the life cycle. But I talked about it on last week's show. We can turn the page on funerals and obituaries.
Yeah. So rest in peace to all of those really wonderful people.
Yeah.
What's next?
What was it? Tell us a little bit about your trip to Toronto. I see you have the shirt
I
on there.
told you 2 weeks ago.
I'm trying to like lighten it up because I do have something else to talk about, but it's
depressing.
It is a little depressing.
I went to the beach. I went back to Mandy's.
You went to the beach in September in Toronto.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
It was super hot there. It was like 80 degrees.
Right.
Or no, it wasn't 80 degrees. It was like in the 70s, or as the Canadians say, 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. It was 26 degrees.
Yeah. I swam in Lake Ontario, which was like a dream because it's not salt water.
Right.
So you can like put your head in and your eyes won't burn.
Not like the Long Island Sound.
Ugh. It's just not right. What else? I mean, yeah, it was a good little fun trip.
An international trip. Did you ever put your passport back?
Yes, I did.
All right, good. So I'm taking a break from Harris and Walls.
Who's that?
Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Oh.
And I watched...
What did you call them?
Harris and Walls.
Oh, Harrison Walls.
Yes.
I thought you said Harrison Walls. And I was like, who is Harrison Walls?
So I watched the vice presidential debate on
There's
Tuesday.
literally nothing to say about that.
It's like...
No, like literally at this point, like I'm just like, when is November 4th or whatever it is? Like, can it just come? Like, I need this to be done. Like, I can't take it anymore.
I have a theory.
I don't care. I'm sorry. Should I not say that?
No, well, because you burnt. That's burnout. And I'm of the opinion that the stakes are so high, but it's just like so obvious to anyone thinking. Even if you say you're a Trump supporter, you can't possibly believe that that person belongs anywhere near serious power, right? So I think what's going on is there's a giant conspiracy now to elect Kamala Harris. Like the media's in on it, everybody's in on it. I'm in on it.
Even Fox?
To an extent.
What do you mean you're in on it? You were always going to vote for her.
No, but now it's kind of like anything that's not exactly right, we're sort of looking the other way for a little while.
Ah, I see.
And
so, Dad,
the jobs report came out today, and it's the greatest jobs report ever. And the longshoremen went on strike, and all of a sudden, in 48 hours, it got resolved.
Yeah.
It's
so
magic.
There's this TikTok sound that's like, just vote, just vote, just vote. That's how I feel. I'm just like, just vote.
Yeah.
And like, let's move on.
And I think I have to look into when the early voting is.
It's open right now.
In our area?
Oh, it's different for every area?
Yes, it's different. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
don't listen to me.
Social studies lesson here. It's a 50-state race. The elections are run by the states and then administered at the county level for the most part. And the rules are different everywhere you go. So another topic that is news, what?
I do want to talk about this TV show really quick.
Go ahead.
So it's called Nobody Wants This. Mm-hmm. Did you see me and Ellen watching? Okay. So it's about this podcaster, right? It's loosely based on these two sisters, Erin and Sarah Foster, who, by the way, are Nepo babies, David Foster.
Oh, okay.
Their daughter.
Composer,
his daughters.
Composer, producer.
Yeah. And I reluctantly watched it because I was like, okay, it's about Jewish people. It's kind of interesting. Shana Tova to everybody out there, by the way, if you're Jewish, I guess.
Happy New Year. Do you remember what year it is?
5728? 5728?
I thought it was 5784. I'm not sure.
Or 573.
I don't remember.
Well, anyways.
Not ideal. Yeah.
Yeah, you can look it up. Do you mind looking it up? Like, we have to fact check that.
No. We'll correct it put it on the screen.
Okay. So anyways, the show is about this woman who's not Jewish. She falls in love with a rabbi, and it's a 30-minute show. It's so easy to watch. Everybody is like loving it. And I had some problems with it in the beginning because
I might have to check this out.
I had some problems with it in the beginning because there was this like Jewish woman annoying, non-Jewish blonde woman nice vibe going on in the beginning, and I was like, this is what is this? I don't like this. I don't
stereotype.
It's like this is a stereotype like we don't need to perpetuate. Like they were all like naggy, like all the Jewish women and all the men were like, oh, there we go again.
Right.
And then like, Kristen Bell walks in and they're like, oh my God, she's like so beautiful and she doesn't nag us. And it was like so weird in the beginning.
Which streaming platform is bringing us this?
Netflix.
Of course.
So it calms down as the season goes on, and like it actually is pretty good. I have a feeling it will probably come back.
One more time, it's called what?
Nobody Wants This.
Nobody Wants This on Netflix.
But it was just funny. I think the way that they film their podcast is so unrealistic. Like, if this is such a big podcast, they like open up their computer and put a webcam. I was like, there's no way that's how they were filming their podcast. But maybe.
You never know.
They had fancy mics at least.
I mean, people do all kinds of things, including us. Look where we are. So, Veronica, I think that's going to wrap it for today, because if I talk about Sudan, it'll just drive things.
Yeah, like
There'll be even fewer people watching the end of the show.
Yeah, let's not.
So let's not do that. We'll save it for another week. Big story, probably belongs in the top headline in every newspaper, but not for today.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to that. We're not ignoring it. We will get back to it.
All right.
So that's Stern Spiel. Like, follow, subscribe at New Charlie Stern, at
Veronica Stern.
We love it when you like the social media clips, and when I'll
try to post the social media clips. I know that's the only thing that people listen to. It's just hard.
Yeah. But no, sometimes we get a good number of viewers on YouTube. Sometimes we don't. If you're listening on the podcast platforms, there's a button there where you can text us, and we'll comment, and we'll come back to you. Let us know if there's things you want us to talk about.
All right, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Bye.